Hello and welcome to the channel. It's a pleasure to have each and every one of you here today. Whether you're visiting for the first time or you're coming back for another video, welcome. On today's video, we will discuss 10 essential topics to book your first international flight. So whether you're a seasoned traveler or you're embarking on your maiden voyage, these 10 essential tips will help you navigate the process smoothly so that you can make the most out of your travel experience. So without further ado, let's dive right in. First of all, research. So often people go to a destination and they get on the flight and then they're asking the people around them, the flight attendants, anybody really, what should they do there? So research. Find out what the local customs are, find out what the landmarks are. What should you see? What should you do when you go there? So you don't want to wait until you arrive and then say, oh, what do I do? You want to figure that out ahead of schedule. So what is tip number one? Do your research. As a flight attendant with a major airline, so often I see people come on a plane and then they're asking me, what should they do? They're on the flight already. They're going to the destination and now they say, what should they do? So this is the most important thing. Do your research. Find out what the local customs are, find out what the local attractions are, just find out something about where you're going. That will make it go so much smoother because even though you don't have to have a schedule with every single thing, at least you have an idea of, I want to do this, or I want to go there, or we can at least see this, you know. So no matter where you're going, whether it's someplace like Paris with tons of things to do, or you're going to a less known country like Croatia where there's a lot to do as well, but you may not be more familiar with it, do some research because it will make all the difference in your trip. So the second tip, begin searching for your flight prices well in advance. This can be done in many ways, even if you're just calling up the airlines. If you don't want to go online, some people don't. Just start this process in advance. The earlier you start this, the more it'll help you because you'll know whether you're getting a better deal or not. If you start, say you know you're going on vacation every December, so start the December before just checking with the flight prices if you know where you want to go. That way, as it gets closer to your date, you know, okay, oh, this is a deal. Let me hop right on that. Tip number 2. Begin doing the research for your flight prices well in advance. So you could do this in quite a few ways. Some people don't like the internet, okay? Just call the airline. Call reservations for whatever carrier. The easiest way to find out what carrier goes to the destination, of course, is to use your handy dandy cell phone or a computer, tablet. Just do some research. So say you want to go from here to Australia. Who flies to Australia? Well, we all know Qantas, but who else? You know, you might want to go with somebody who you have travel points with, you're in their program, their frequent flyer program. So just use the internet. There are alliances, so even though you may be in a program with one carrier, because they're in an alliance with another carrier, you may still be able to get points or miles with that other carrier. So all this stuff should be taken into account when you're thinking about booking that flight. So find out who goes to your destination and then make a phone call if you don't want to use the internet. Third, compare prices. Now, the way that I do this personally is I use online travel agencies and websites. My top 3 that I use are Expedia, Harper, and Kayak. In no particular order, honestly. I have tried other ones in the past, but these ones seem to get me the price that I want without hopping through a lot of hoops. So again, those are the 3 that I use. If you use a different one, please put it in the description box below. Let me know. Maybe I'll check that one out too. But those seem to work for me. And what I suggest is just entering the dates and putting in where you want to go and see what happens. You'll probably notice that, and this is another tip, that by connecting, instead of going on a non-stop flight, that you'll wind up getting a better price. But you have to be careful, because connecting can be connecting with a 2-hour wait, or you could be connecting with a 24, 32-hour wait. So how important is it for you to arrive at the destination by a specific time? Are you going on a cruise, or are you just going to a hotel, and so you can just change the arrival at your final destination? So those are considerations to be taken into account. Now, what you can do with these apps? Well, what I do like about them is that you can put in a specific flight and you can have it watch that flight. So if the price goes up, it'll say the price goes up. If the price goes down, it'll tell you that. And sometimes it even has kind of a prediction, telling you that this ticket or this flight price is more than likely going to increase in the next 30 days, in the next 60 days. So that's something to think about as well. So that was actually supposed to be one tip, but I gave you 3. What can I say? Okay, now, tip number 4. Flexibility with dates. This can have a major impact on your ticket price. Some people have more flexibility than others. If you have children, that will reduce your flexibility because of school. They get out on certain dates, they're in school, you have to wait for those dates to travel, and then you book your tickets accordingly. But not everyone has children, not everybody has children that go to school. Some people homeschool. So as long as you can continue your program, you might have more flexibility. I'm not really sure, I don't have any children. But what I am saying is that the more flexibility you have, the better chance of you getting a better price with your ticket. So that is something to consider, flexibility. So you can ask the search engine to adjust your days. Sometimes it'll do it 2 to 4 days, or you can actually just plug in different dates if any time in the month is good for you. And with some apps, like the one I just told you, Hopper, it'll actually highlight the less expensive days. And I believe Kayak does that as well. So you can see, okay, this day works for me. Maybe it's a Wednesday departure instead of a Friday or a weekend. So whatever works to get you the best price, go for it. Tip number 5, airports. Consider going to one of the nearby airports. You don't necessarily have to go into the main airports. Say you're flying to some place like Rome. They do have another airport. Going to Milan, there's actually 2 other airports. So consider that. So let's just use Milan as the example. Milan has Malpensa, Linate, and Bergamo. So recently, well, a year ago, some friends of mine came from Canada to Milan, but instead of flying directly into Malpensa, they flew into Bergamo. This cut their trip, well, the cost of your ticket, in half, because they wind up getting a charter carrier and they only paid, I believe it was less than $400. I can't actually remember the exact price, but it was a bargain just by changing the airport. And to go from Bergamo to Milan, really the cost that they saved with the ticket is much more than what it cost them to get from Bergamo to Milan, because they actually do have a bus service that services the main central station. So I'm sure you probably can get to a train and come in that way too, but the bus service from the main station in Milan goes to all 3 airports. You can go to Bergamo, you can go to Linate, or you can go to Malpensa. Malpensa, of course, is the easiest one because they actually do have a train service, an express train service that goes right to Malpensa. But if you are trying to be more economical, this is another option. So think about that. When you're going to another city, or any city, excuse me, think about, where do I want to go? Do they have another airport? Well, that other airport be far difficult to get back and forth to? If not, how much will I save? Is it worth the extra effort? Take those things into consideration. Okay, so now we're up to number 6. What is number 6? Let's see. We're going to check the visa requirements for the country. Now, I know many of us are from countries in Europe, in the US, Australia, Canada, and for the most part, we can travel pretty much without getting a visa, but you never know. Some countries do require you to get some kind of added immigration item. One of these countries is Australia. It's nothing, it's quick, you can get it in a day, but they do have a requirement for you. Another country for US passport holders is Brazil. Almost forgot for a second. Brazil. Brazil does require you to have a visa. So a lot of times people don't realize this. They get to the airport and breaks. Can't go to Brazil. Where can you go? They just start looking for another option, and a lot of times they wind up going to Argentina. But needless to say, if you want to go to a particular country, just check to see what the requirements are for your passport. Some people are residents in the US and they actually carry another citizenship and another passport. So please check. This happened to me and a good friend of mine. We had already booked our trip, and unfortunately she needed a visa and her visa did not arrive in time. So it just caused havoc with our trip. And needless to say, I wind up having to go solo on the trip. But I don't want this to happen to you, so I'm giving you this little tidbit of advice. Do your research. The airlines really make you responsible for knowing what your visa requirements are. So you can call them up and say, okay, I have a passport from Canada. Is it okay? Do I need anything special to go to Jamaica? And it's really not up to them. If they give you the wrong information, they give you the wrong information. So do this on your own. You can check online, and you can actually even call the consulate for that country. It's a little time consuming, but you know what? In the long run, at least you make it to where you want to go. Now this one, number 7, is something I'm sure a lot of people don't even think about. Truthfully, I don't think about this until I'm like sometimes at my destination. But you want to find out if there are any travel advisories. So often in today's world, it can go from normal to haywire in the blink of an eye. So you want to actually take the time. If you do have a US passport, it's quite easy. You just go check with the State Department, and they'll have levels from green to red, listing on whether or not it's safe to travel to any particular country. So I'm sure every country has some sort of an advisory to let you know. So please, before you travel, just check, make sure the country you're going to is safe to go to. They have different levels sometimes. So green means go, and then as you see it go to, you know, yellow, orange, red, it might mean that you might want to think twice and choose a different destination. So don't forget, check the travel advisory also. Now, number 8, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I want to go into this in detail. Allow for connecting flight layovers. So, say you're going from New York and you want to arrive at Dubai. Okay, New York, Dubai. But instead of getting on the non-stop from New York to Dubai, you go via Sri Lanka. So you go non-stop from New York to Sri Lanka, and then you go down to Dubai. Well, you can actually take time and explore Sri Lanka. So say your flight arrives that morning, 6 a.m. Well, your departing flight doesn't leave until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That gives you time to either book a tour in advance, of course, or you can explore on your own. But it gives you some good time, because more than likely, if you're an experienced traveler, you can have your bags checked straight through to the destination, so you won't have to worry about that. If you do have a small bag that you're traveling with, a lot of times, a lot of airports do have lockers that you could just lock it up for a specific amount of time, and then you could be on your way. So you can find out this in advance. There is websites for each airport, and you can specifically do a search for that question. I know I travel to Portugal frequently, and when you exit right out of the airport in Lisbon, you come out up at the top where they have the departures, and on the left-hand side they have small lockers all the way to ones that can handle a heavy-duty serious suitcase. So think about that. If you want to kind of squeeze another destination in, it's worth it. You don't have to spend days there. You can spend a few hours and see another city. Just a consideration. And by doing this, it also, remember, reduces the price of the total cost of your ticket. Number 9, baggage fees. Baggage fees are something that you really need to consider when booking your ticket. So when you book your ticket, you want to fully understand the baggage fees. If there are any baggage fees, because sometimes when you purchase a ticket, a lot of people don't read the small print, especially if you're doing it online, and you're just paying for the ticket and maybe a backpack. Some airlines don't even let you come on with a carry-on. Some airlines charge you for this. So I don't want you to arrive at the airport and be surprised, like, I booked this ticket online like Alicia told me to, and she didn't tell me that they were going to charge me for my carry-on bag. They just might. So this is something that you have to look at. When you go online, or if you're making a phone call, if you're making a phone call to reservations, they will explain this to you more than likely. If they didn't explain it to you, ask. Always ask. You want to have clarity between you and the airline at all times. It's nothing like getting there and all of a sudden they're saying, okay, you have a bag, that'll be $150, that'll be $100, that'll be $200. You honestly never know. It could be nothing all the way up. So just be prepared by learning in advance the ticket that you have and the baggage allowance that goes with that particular ticket. I don't understand exactly how it works. All I know is that I read, and when I'm not sure, I ask. And I suggest you do the same. Know the baggage allowance. Okay, tip number 10, the last tip, travel insurance. It's so important to have a travel insurance policy. I myself have an annual travel insurance policy, but what are you looking for when you purchase this travel insurance policy? Well, at least 3 things. You can adjust it because there are websites, again, I love Smashmouth myself. That's the one I use to compare the different travel policies, and you feed your information in, your location, your age, and it'll give you different levels of coverage. So that's a website that I really do like. I'll put the link in the description below. Anyway, let's continue. So what do I look for when I'm getting this travel policy? The first thing I'm looking for is protection in case the trip cancels. What do? You don't want to lose all your money. You really don't. So make sure that it protects you in case there is a trip cancellation. Secondly, what if you have a medical emergency? Sometimes your main medical insurance will cover it, but a lot of times you will have to foot that expense initially, and they will reimburse you if you do have that type of coverage. And last, you want protection in case you have a bag that is lost. So make sure you get at least those 3 things: trip cancellation, lost baggage, and medical emergencies. And then anything else, I mean, you can go, the sky's the limit. You can have expatriation, whatever. in case something happens to you and you need someone to come visit you while you're away, you can have that. If you need to get back to your home country, is what I was trying to say, you can have that. But they have lots of levels of coverage, and it's as simple as checking off a box. So they'll give you the details. You can actually speak to someone if you do not fully understand what it means, but I would not go on any of my trips if I didn't travel with some sort of travel insurance. So that's my last tip to you. And I'll give you a bonus one. Right now, we seem to be living in what appears to be a COVID-free world, but you really never know. I always suggest that you check to see what the current health policy is, because at any time, boom, another policy could come into place. So just check to see if the country that you're going to has any type of special health notice up, and that if you need something else. I mean, a lot of people do have their COVID shots. I still carry my card with me, even though right now I don't need to. You never know when that can change. So just be aware in case. Always be aware in case. You want to be ready for any emergency or you don't want to get all the way to the country and have to go home just because you forgot a COVID card. So it's better to have too much than too little when it comes to preparation for going through immigration and customs and just having all your ducks in a row. So I hope you enjoyed the 10 tips. I enjoyed being here with you. So until next time, happy travels. Bye. Thank you for watching the video 10 tips on booking your first international flight. Your support means a lot to me. And if you like the content you just saw in the video, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the like and notification bell. That way you'll be informed the next time another video comes out. So until next time, happy travels.